Hello, my name is Kori Bарлога, director of God of War, and if you have not played God of War, spoilers abound. Go away. Come back after you finish playing, and then I'll give you a little insight on how we made the game. Alright, so here we are at the start of God of War. This opening sequence actually came about a little late. We knew the opening level, but the opening sequence of Kratos at the tree and kind of having the quiet, solemn moment was a lot of discussion for us to figure out, you know, the right moment to start this game. And it needed to be not a big, bombastic action moment to really show people that things are different. We needed to show them that, you know, Kratos has a little bit more going on in this game than any of the previous games. It was important that you actually use the button to chop the tree down. Another thing, you know, spoilers, the chopping of this tree down is Kratos' wife, Faye. She had selected these trees, and these trees are very specific in the stave, the magical stave that is protecting their forest. She knew cutting this tree down would make them exposed to the entire Norse pantheon, to everyone on the outer world, and that was her way of saying that, you know, Kratos sometimes likes to procrastinate, and given the opportunity, he's going to just stall as much as possible. And he's unaware of this, which is why he even tells his son, you know, you're not ready. This moment, like, this is really cool. I really wanted more of these kinds of moments throughout the game. The theme of the wounds that will not heal. So these burn marks on his forearms have not healed since they were seared on his forearms all the way back in the first God of War game. And now he's even unable to
Get in the boat,
show
boy.
his son just the wrapping of that, which is, you know, wordlessly explaining so much of this relationship between these two characters. And I said this before, but I mean, this is such a blatant inspiration from Commando. You know, that when I was a kid watching that movie and seeing Arnold carry this giant tree. And the first tree that they gave me was really small and normal size, you know? And I kept saying bigger and bigger and bigger, and I wanted to go even bigger than this, but at that point I think they cut me off and kicked me out of the office and said, we're just not going to listen to you anymore.
Still want me to tie it to the boat?
But I wanted it to feel like, you know, there's Arnold carrying a tree, but then there's, you know, Kratos carrying just massive tree. And, of course, his son completely unfazed, right? Because he doesn't know anything more than just dad is dad, right? He's always been strong. No big deal.
Boy.
I like the slowness of all of this, just kind of
That is enough.
doing very everyday things, chopping a tree down, lashing it to a boat, you know, going down the river, but still giving you those sort of quiet, softer moments that help build towards what this eventually will become.
What?
Did something change? The forest feels different now.
Everything is different, boy.
This line,
Time to dwell on it.
Yes, sir.
so much weight behind this line. This is like that line at the beginning of Iron Man 2 when Don Cheadle is War Machine, and he pretty much just says, what are you doing here? I'm here to deal with it. Let's move on. That line is all about that sense that everything has changed. It's a communication to Atreus as much as it is to the audience. Everything's different. Try not to dwell on it. Take in the experience. Roll with us on this ride. Danielle Bisutti. Oh, so brilliant as the Witch in the Woods, or Freya. Spoilers. And here, very important that this is the moment of quiet. There is no music. It is the sounds of their feet crunching against the leaves as they walk up in silence, right? This is, neither of them really knows how to relate to each other. This is the slightly uncomfortable silent moments as you're slowly beginning to understand that something else is going on. And if you've never played before, you still are wondering, like, okay, so what is happening? If you've not experienced any spoilers from the internet, it is a surprise when you first see Atreus walk through the door and see what really is going on.
That was the last.
Then he just goes and tears this tree up. In a few minutes, the whole thing is broken down. See? Gods can chop wood fast. Oh, I love this little breath. Just stealing himself before he walks in. And so much of, what we had done is being open on the set to try to figure out what works best. And this sort of abbreviation of the Viking prayer for the dead was added on the set when I was just like, I don't really want him to do the whole poem because we're taking place in the time before the Vikings. So I'm imagining this is kind of the Strawhenge to the Stonehenge version of that full poem. And really all he's doing is calling out to his mother and his father as she's being ushered off. He's laying down mistletoe.
Whither do they call to me? Whither do they call to me? Whither do they call to me?
We had a bug for the longest time where in the middle of this sequence, the model would just jitter a little bit, so everybody would be like, she's not dead.
She's ready.
And this part coming up is so beautiful. Ivor's music is just astounding. I mean, Bear did an amazing job on this score. This moment, the first time he gave me the first draft of the score, and we put it to the rough animatic of this, Kratos' sort of true desires right here.
Find your way home.
You're free.
You are free.
That's all he wants. Like, she got what he could never get. It's interesting because we didn't do a lot of modifications on this. Once we had done our pre-visualization of this scene, it ended up being almost exactly as we first realized it. The only changes were getting the camera to work really well over the fires. That was the big trick. Like, orchestrating all the complex camera moves with these big objects all over the set was definitely one of our biggest challenges. And then also not feeling like you're getting dizzy from moving the camera back and forth and back and forth. The initial previs we did was a lot longer, and we kind of, before we got on the set, started cutting it down. It was definitely a part of me that felt like maybe this was a little too fast, but I think it ended up working overall for the pacing. But I really wanted the fires to burn for a little bit longer, the knife could heat up, and then he grabs it, but I think it still works. I love this.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. He apologizes for getting burned. And then there's just
Squeeze.
simple, put the snow in his hand. And a piece of Kratos.
This knife.
At the beginning of this journey, a piece of his father, a
Hers.
piece of the memories, the wounds that never heal are on his hand. He's carrying that throughout. And a piece of his father and a piece of his mother.
Что делать?
She knew.
Show me.
Now?
Oh, I love his reaction there. It's just such an amazing work by our cinematics team to be able to really catch so many of these moments. A lot of weird choreography had to go on, but
What are we hunting?
so
You
worth
are
it.
hunting deer.
And the lighting here is just absolutely beautiful.
Which way?
It did not come
In the
online until
direction
the
of
very
deer.
end. The artist actually came in
Okay.
to this level and told me,
this
I'd
way.
like to redo a few things. We're in the last 6 months of the game. And I thought, oh, okay, cool, we'll redo a couple of rocks or change some textures or even adjust the lighting a little bit. And then a producer runs in my office like 3 or 4
Father,
weeks later, yelling at me.
why are we doing this
Why
now?
did you tell them to redo the
need
whole
to know
level?
you
And I
can
was like,
survive the
what are
journey.
you talking about?
Then
And
we
they
leave
just
for the mountain?
they weren't satisfied
Depends
with
on
it, so
you.
they went in and they really just
Hunt.
redid everything. And it's for the better. That's the level of kind of perfectionism that everybody has at the studio, that a level that was done, that I was like pretty happy with, and I gave them thumbs up and said, let's this is good, let's move forward. And they just were not
What
happy.
did you find?
They wanted to take
Tracks.
it even further, and
Not deer, though.
I feel like that's reflected in every
keep
aspect of the game. Everybody's desire to go one step beyond what we think is like, okay, well, that's done. All right. Well, that is the opening of God of War. And very happy to be able to give you a little bit of insight on what it was to develop this game.
プレイステーション